Hello, back again. So today we have a beer that I'm sure many people have tried, especially people with gluten sensitivities. It is made by Anheuser-Busch, and it's called Redbridge. It looks like it's brewed with something called sorghum, and it is gluten-free. Excuse me, gotta sneeze. Maybe. Yes, hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Here we go. Yes, it's called Redbridge. It is made with sorghum by Anheuser-Busch. It's 130 calories. Is that what I saw? Yes, 130 calories. There it is. It's 12 grams of carbs. So if you're on keto, this would not be a good beer for you. Although 1 gram of total sugars isn't horrible. Water, fermented sorghum, corn syrup, hops, and yeast. Kind of the same thing with the Budweiser, except that I know they use rice in theirs and something else. Malt, I guess. Something that has gluten in it. Well, this does not. So, anywho, let's try this thing out. I gotta invest in a stand. I'm just gonna open this. So it was a twist top, which makes it convenient. No need to get out the old bottle opener. Let's give this a shot. Pretty good. It's let's see what it's lacking. I don't know. It's definitely a different taste than Budweiser, and can't put my finger on it. It's very drinkable though. It's 4% alcohol. I think it's smooth. You could actually drink a bunch of those in a certain amount of time, in no time, and it goes down real easy. So if you do have gluten problems, gluten sensitivities, celiac disease, and you don't want to give up beer altogether, this would be a good beer for you. It tastes like beer, which a lot of things that are gluten-free does not. So this would be a good option if you did not want to get the bloating and the stomach turmoil, intestinal turmoil, IBS and such that you do with gluten beers. Personally, I have a gluten sensitivity, not necessarily celiac, but it can cause certain bloating and gas and stuff like that. So I have pretty much for the last 20 plus years, maybe 25 plus years, drank beer, and I developed these sensitivities probably 10 years ago, but I just lived with it. Most of my beer intake was light beer. As I'm getting older, I'm getting more into the gluten-free aspect because it's starting to take its toll, and on my stomach anyway. But so this is a good option. It's not cheap. I think this one was maybe $7.99 a six, 8 something a six pack. So it's not cheap. You might be able to find gluten-free beers that may be cheaper. I think, though, that for the most part you'll be getting into the seltzers. So that being said, well, there's a wild animal out there. Crazy. It's like a lynx or something. That being said, it's a good beer. If you got the money and you like to drink beer that tastes like beer, gluten-free beer that tastes like beer, this is pretty good. I would definitely buy again. I do think it has almost like a Michelob taste to it. So if you like Michelob, you'd like this. So what else is there to talk about? We could talk about one thing. I tried to watch a show called, I think it's on Netflix or Amazon Prime, I am not sure, and it's called Nurse Jackie. And some of these shows that they put out nowadays are just so out there. And I know this is an older show. This probably came out in the early 2000s, I would imagine. And I think I got through one episode, maybe two. Well, she got to a point, and the actress in there, Edie Falco, I remember seeing her in, I think, The Sopranos, and she seemed okay. She's a strong woman. I think I also seen her in Horace and Pete, which was an excellent show. A little bit too short. Should have went on for 3 seasons longer instead of just one. Anyway, Edie Falco did a great job in that. Very good actress. The problem with her acting, if I can name anything, in my opinion, though, the same as Robert De Niro, in my opinion, is they really can only do one certain character. They can do Mad in the same style. It's basically the same character, and that's their bread and butter. That was their claim to fame, and that got them where they were. And I mean, you could say the same thing about Christopher Walken and many more actors too. It got them to where they were. It made them famous, and it works for them. But versatility, I don't think they have. So she brought that versatility to this show called Nurse Jackie. Now, I can't really comment too much on the whole entire show because I think I only got through 1 or 2 episodes. And there was a scene where there was a man that I guess had gotten into an argument with his wife. Maybe he was physically abusing her. I'm not really sure if he was or not. Possibly. Well, the nurse, Jackie, was being yelled at by this guy. And what had happened was the wife had cut his ear off. And in one of their violent domestic problems. And they took the ear to the ER, and that's where Nurse Jackie was. And so that's, they got in a fight. Well, I guess Nurse Jackie didn't like the way the man was talking to her, herself. And he was saying something that he couldn't hear her or something like that. And she takes the ear that they were supposed to sew back on, um, or attempt to sew back on, and goes into the bathroom, yells into the ear something like, "Can you hear me now?" or something, and then flushes the ear down the toilet. Now, I immediately, because I was watching with my wife, disapproved of that and said that, I don't want to say immediately, but at the end of the show, I said, I don't think I can get into that show. I mean, why would she do that to that guy's ear? I mean, that's just horrible. And, of course, she went on a defensive. How come you always have a problem with my shows, etc., etc. The normal things in a marriage. Well, I basically told her that was, I mean, they just push the envelope in these shows, and it's just despicable seeing something like that. And I said that, how come there's so many shows that everyone in the show, and as far as I was watching anyway, she had a drug habit. There was doctors and other nurses that were just in there, and they had problems. And but it seems like every show these days, there can't be someone in there that is a good person, a decent person. Everybody's got to have a dark side, and they bring it out to the forefront more than the light side. And I really think, well, for instance, I was watching Father Knows Best today. It was the one where Bud had a paper route, and he had to finish the paper route. He wasn't able to do it, and then the father, I think his name is Jim. Bud got hurt, and he went out and finished his paper route for him. Well, the moral of the story was that the lesson that they were taught, and that's the thing, the lesson that they were taught was hard work, getting your route done, and defending each other, defending your family, and I don't know, just pulling through for your family whenever there's someone in need. The lesson, you don't get that from a lot of shows these days. You definitely didn't get it from Nurse Jackie. At the end of I think it was the first or second episode or both episodes, she was cheating on her husband and then going home and being with him. And she had a drug habit. It's just, I don't know. The decadence of TV is just overwhelming these days. Just overwhelming. There's either a propaganda for decadence or propaganda for racism, socialism, or non-racism, anti-racism. It's just all propaganda. So, get some more sip of this. That is very tasty. I like it. But anyway. So yeah, I had to stop watching that. It's hard these days to find TV that you can watch that you feel good about, that you actually feel good about. I have to actually go back 20 years, maybe more. I mean, there's ones here in drips and drabs, but they're very rare. I'd have to go back probably pre-90s, and even in the 80s, things were starting to get decadent. Dysfunctionalism started, I think, in the 70s or 80s. And I know racism was brought into things, social issues and stuff were brought into things in the 60s and 70s. And but it just, I guess the baby boomer generation did it. And it has gone downhill from then on. And it's gotten to be where, you could have a handful of shows that gave you a good feeling to now, rare, rare. Um, I mean, they might produce 20 shows right now, and one of them might give you a good vibes and good feeling, and not no propaganda, just good things. Um, as I'm getting older, I'm seeing the propaganda more too. But anyway, that is a sign of the times, and I have a feeling it's only going to get worse as time goes on. All we can do, I guess, is not participate in the downfall of it. Thank God we still have our old shows and our old songs that we can listen to. Um, uh, that's probably why when growing up, I would hear grandparents admire and relish their old movies and their old songs and stuff like that. And because it was a better time and it was a simpler time and it was a more, um, I guess for lack of a better term, it was a more good time. It was a more, I can't think of the right word, but people were better to each other. And I think that is falling by the wayside as time goes on. But anyway, yeah, I mean, if you put something out like Father Knows Best now, it would just be mocked. It probably wouldn't even be picked up by any, uh, you know, TV shows or anything like that. It would just be stepped on and mocked. So, hopefully one day the society will go back to a time when we enjoy those things, and those things, or the masses will enjoy those things. But I really don't see it happening as time goes on, because as we all know about the pushing the envelope, once you push the envelope or you open Pandora's box, it's just hard to shut it again. So thank God for reruns, I guess. But anywho, we could talk more about that. I'll give you some shows that I don't like, and even this goes back even some of the older shows. Um, that Nurse Jackie is one of them. I think a good show would have been Lost. I think that was a good show. Um, I thought Friends was a good show, and I thought Seinfeld was good. Of course, that's older, and so is Friends and Lost. Lost is getting older too, and I also thought obviously a lot of the '60s shows were great. The Andy Griffiths and the Gomer Pyles. The '50s, I Love Lucy and Leave It to Beaver, they were great shows. Dennis the Menace was great, and the see Bachelor Father. A lot of those old shows were great. Little House on the Prairie, what, '70s, '80s. I thought that was a great show. That made you feel good when you watched it, and a lot of great shows. A lot of bad shows too. I wasn't really fond. I liked a few episodes of Cheers here and there, but ultimately it did not make me feel good. It was just about making fun of people, making fun at their, like, criticizing at their own expense, jokes at everybody's expense, and um, it wasn't. Everybody was out to get each other, and the same went with Roseanne. Kind of dysfunctional family. I liked it in drips and drabs, but I can't say I felt good when I watched it. I thought The Office was a great show. If the people were at expenses, if they had jokes at other people's expense, it was pretty much communal, and everybody got lumped into the categories and made fun of each equally. Um, so yeah, there's some what makes you feel good when you watch it, and I can't say a lot of TV shows these days does. So anyway, I'll talk about more of that later. So that's all today. Redbridge beer, pretty good beer. Um, if you're gluten free, if you're not, you can get it for if you're not gluten free, I wouldn't recommend it. Or if you don't have gluten sensitivities, because you can get something $2 cheaper that tastes the same. But if you are, then it's pretty good. Okay, bye.